Hey all, Heretic here, another Hearthstone Battlegrounds Players Guide. I'm here to bring you the information you need to help you win with the Naga tribe. So get comfy and let's dive in. Now when it comes to the minions and the strategies I like to use when I'm playing Naga, first let's look into a unique thing that Naga have that nobody else have, and that is Spellcraft. Spellcraft is a spell generated by minions in the Naga tribe. Each one generates a specific spell, and they each have specific effects. So Spellcraft is different from other spells though, because at the end of the turn, if you don't use it, it will disappear. And at the beginning of your next turn, every shop phase, any Spellcraft minion will add those cards to your hand. And if your hand, let's say for some reason you had 6 cards in your hand and you generated 4 Spellcraft cards, the excess ones would actually be held off kind of in a limbo until you had room in your hand. And as soon as that room was there, they slide in. It's a really fun mechanic. It's very unique. It's only Naga have it. It's pretty awesome. And there's a lot of synergy built into the tribe around this, not surprisingly. So you get a lot of utility from these spells. You're going to get plus stats, plus Wind Fury, plus Divine Shield. It does a variety of things that give you power on minions you necessarily might not have it. Hey, all of a sudden you're fighting beasts and you're like, I really wish I had a Wind Fury. Well, all of a sudden you've got Wind Fury. You can randomly buy a minion in the shop, because these can be cast on minions from any tribe. Throw all those buffs on it. Next turn, those buffs are all gone because they're only temporary, and then you don't care. You could sell that minion and move on to the next, minion you need to build to make, kind of a choose your own adventure, win the combat. Obviously, this isn't the best way to do it, but it really does work well when you're, in a position where each opponent you're fighting has a unique style of playing and you need a different counter to deal with that. So now let's talk about the minions that make up the Naga tribe. And the ones that matter, there's a lot of them, but some are standout. And typically the issue with the Naga tribe is their early game is kind of lackluster. There's nothing really wrong with their minions individually, but maybe it's because of the Spellcraft design, whatever, when they balanced the game out, they didn't really give any good early power Naga. Lava Lurker is great in that the first Spellcraft you cast on it every turn is permanent, and you can get some very nasty Lava Lurkers, but it's only one a turn, and it takes a while to build up. You have to find the Spellcraft, you have to get it on him, and it takes a while for him to get value. And oftentimes when you get to the later game, those Nagas scale so quickly, this can get outpaced really fast. So you might have a Lava Lurker on your board for 10 turns, just immediately sell it because everything else is going to scale so much faster, which isn't really a huge problem, but this is the only minion in the Naga tribe in the early game that really can have any value like this. And it's hard to generate a lot of Spellcraft in the early game because, well, you don't cycle through that many minions as you're trying to tier up and complete your quest and move on to the next stages of the game. You want to get away from the early game as quickly as possible. So buying these early minions with no real long-term power or really explosive early power is a little bit of a detriment. So the Nagas that truly shine are basically all tier 4 and higher. The ones that, these are the MVPs, these are the ones you want to have, these are just great. Eventide Brute gets honorable mention. Well, Eventide Brute is not insane. The simple fact that anytime you cast a spell, the Eventide Brute gets bigger. And since, hey, typically you're using a lot of Spellcraft, you're generating a lot of spells, Eventide Brute is really good. He can be a trap, because if you start using more than 2, let's say you triple it, and then you're starting to think about another one, here is a Naga that loves you to cast spells, but now takes up spots that you might want to have Spellcraft generating minions in those spots. He's good, he scales, but there's better as you get later on in the game. Critter Wrangler is a nice minion in that, hey, you have lots of Spellcraft. Once again, does not generate Spellcraft, but is going to add stats that are permanent to your minions every time you put a Spellcraft minion on it. Basically, this is the minion you kind of use until you find the later Nagas. They definitely can hold you over, but if this is your end game, you're probably in a lot of trouble. Glowscale. Glowscale is the one everyone wants. Doesn't matter what tribe you're playing, you're cycling around, you see a Glowscale, you're going to buy it, you're going to play it, you might not keep it, but you're going to love that Divine Shield effect on whatever minion needs it. This is an MVP for any build. You got to love Glowscale. Orgozoa the Tender. Orgozoa is a great minion because he generates a Spellcraft creature every turn. So much like a normal spellcraft, his spellcraft gives you Naga, which is good, but once again doesn't benefit from any of the things that synergize with the Naga tribe itself because it is not a Naga, it is neutral. So you don't really want to have 2 of these on your board too much unless you can't find anything else. They'll generate spellcraft, but then you need another spot on your board to cycle. So there are instances where these are great. Having 2 of these, having 1 of these, triple in it are fantastic. But a lot of times you're having trouble with board space. That's when these get to be an issue, and you might want to cycle through them if you don't have the space on the board. But if you golden it, you're probably going to keep it because you're generating a lot of Naga. Tide Mistress Athissa is easily your MVP of Naga. This is the backbone of the tribe. Tide Mistress will, every time you cast any spell, give 3 Nagas +1/+1, potentially including herself if she's one of those 3. You're probably going to have 5 or 6 or 7 Naga, so there's a lot of targets. So while you're cycling with her, make sure you wait. Don't just use your spellcraft right away because you're going to have that minion who you're cycling occasionally catching those buffs. So it's a good note to maybe wait more to the end, depending on where you are in your shop phase and what you're digging for and what your opportunities are. But it really takes a little getting used to of when to play them. You definitely don't want one of those minions you're planning on selling immediately, though, to catch those buffs. So if you can hang on to 1 Naga, play all the spellcraft, then play that last Naga, and then play that spellcraft buff, you're going to be wasting less of the buffs on a minion you are about to get rid of. Now, when it comes to a build for Naga, this is their biggest problem. You kind of need Tide Mistress Athissa to make Naga win. You certainly can do a Critter Wrangler, who also is tier 5, so again, very light, to build up the quality of your minions, and you certainly can win with it. But it's very difficult, as opposed to Athissa, who says, hey, look, every time you cast a spell, I'm going to start buffing as many Nagas as I possibly can, constantly. And you're going to buff many, many times. And you're going to triple her, and you're going to generate more, because yes, even triples count as a spell for the purpose of, all these things. So you are just getting tons and tons of value out of it. Athissa is definitely what you need ultimately to win, the kind of board you're probably looking for. And there's a lot of variations depending on what you find, but what would nice would be like Athissa, a Corrupted Myrmidon, a glow scale that is permanent, not one of your cycle slots, a couple of Naga to generate, these spells you need, be it Wind Fury or just plus stats, and then 1 spot dedicated for cycling. This is your best way to do it. That way you can get the most value out of the Nagas on the board you're going to keep. You don't have to waste their stats. And you've got that 1 slot in the back where you just don't mind. Spellcraft is definitely the thing you need to find. Because if you say, oh, well, I've got Athissa, I've got 3 golden Myrmidons, we're going to be insane. You're not generating any spellcraft. So you're really dependent on that shop giving you everything you need every time. And if that shop is cruel to you, as Bob often is, you're dead. You're going to have a turn where you find none. And if that happens 2 turns in a row, especially this late in the game, you're gone. You're just going to get murdered. You're very inconsistent with your divine shields because you're cycling and you're only looking for extra glow scales. You're going to have that 1, but you need to find another one. You need to find the Aragosa who gives you the Discover that gives you another one so you can get more divine shields. You get more Wind Furies. You can't just have giant Naga on your board, who are good, but ultimately don't generate the tools that you need to win the combats. So just remember, blood gems, coins, triple rewards, all these count as spellcraft and they're great, but you still want to leave a spot so you can find more of this. Now let's talk about the quest rewards that you're looking for when you're playing Naga. Now, these are some of my favorites. They may not be the best, but these are very consistent and do the job. And a couple of these won't surprise you because the synergy is great. Let's start with Pilfered Lamps. Oh, you mean I just need 2 copies of a minion to get a triple? Triples count has spells for the purposes of all my Naga synergy. And I have tons of discovers because, well, I'm a Naga player. That means you can find more triples because of this. Because you only need 2 and you're just going to be running nuts. It's a lot of fun when you can get it going. Pilfered Lamps is hard to complete, but if you get it there, good fun there. Next up, Evil Twin. Guess what? Naga like to buff minions. And especially you got Athissa, you got a Corrupted Myrmidon, you've got insane stats. But also, you have targeted spellcraft, so you know which minion is your largest. That's going to be the one copied for Evil Twin. You give it Divine Shield, you give it Wind Fury, you give it more stats, and yeah, you get the picture. You're going to run right through your opponent's board. It's a lot of fun. Dude, I mean, that's just Evil Twin's probably one of the most enjoyable. And finally, Secret Sinstone. Now, this one's pretty rare. You don't see it too often, but every time you discover something, you get 2 copies of it. Naga. Discoveries. Yeah, you're getting the picture here. Your Orgazoa, all your triples, all this stuff is going to give you tons and tons of Naga, tons and tons of spellcraft, tons of triples. If you can get Secret Sinstone done even remotely early, you're off to the races. You are smashing your opponents left and right. You've got all Divine Shields, you've got all Wind Fury. This is the ultimate high roll for you. Enjoy your day. If you get this done, you're probably getting first place. Now, when it comes to countering Naga, let's just remember Nagas are stats. Massive stat sticks that want to smash you into the ground. They're going to have Divine Shields, but they're going to be a little random, especially if they don't keep a glow scale on their board. If they're just depending on that cycle, you'll fight them one combat and they'll have 1 Divine Shield. You fight them the next combat, they'll have 5. It's all depending how lucky they are. I've had games where I just keep finding them. It's like every combat, there's 3 of them. Then again, I've had games where I don't see a glow scale the entire game. So it's inconsistent. If they don't keep one on their board, you can abuse them and you don't have to worry about it too much. But you don't really want to depend on what they find. You just want to have the counters, that way you don't have to worry about it. So if they're running a lot of Divine Shields, the obvious and always answer is Tunnel Blaster. If you're also running Divine Shields, it's going to be more of a brawl. You're better off using minions to bump off their shields like you normally would. You're going to be looking at Leroy's. You're going to be looking for ways to get through and do the damage you need. Poison's the other best way to deal with Naga. If they're going to have a 300 Corrupted Myrmidon, run a 1-2 poison into it and say bye. I mean, it works. Once again, don't couple this with Tunnel Blaster because you might kill your own poison, but you know how your layout of your board is. Just think before you buy and put these stats down. You definitely can counter them with this. Another thing is Leroy the Reckless. Do be a little wary of Leroy. While he is great at smashing those giant Nagas, you probably don't want to have him in the first couple positions. And the reason for that being is Nagas love to cycle. You don't want your Leroy to die to a 4/6 glow scale they just bought, just happened to put on the field, and he runs into it because he's your first minion. Of course, he kills it. It's only got 6 health, but then he's gone and wasted. You want to put him maybe in the second or third position, depending how much cycling or how many taunts you know the Naga player already has. Be careful. Leroy can do, he can kill the 300, or he can kill the 4/6 and basically do nothing. Overall, Naga are either the most frustrating tribe to play or the most fun. You get all the synergy, you get the right quest reward, you're just stats for days. Utility, guess what? I got Divine Shield, I got Wind Fury, I got more stats. The potential is just bonkers and a lot of fun. The downside is it's potential. You also can low roll and not find any of the things you need and just have a very unenjoyable game. That's why Naga aren't, kings right now. They're just too swingy, and a lot of people don't want to take that chance in the quest meta. But if you get the right quest and you've got the right hero, Naga are a lot of fun. Stay tuned, I have more guides on the way. I hope you learned a few things today and had a good time. I know I did. Thanks for watching. Bye.